'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
In God we trust. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched, and I hope I did not offend you with my opening statement, in God we trust. Here's what I mean. I recently was forwarded a link from one of our insider members. It was a Reddit link. Reddit is a website that is kind of a forum. You can ask questions, you can have debates. It's a lot of stuff going on there. I've never really been into it, and I didn't even have an account. But this guy sent me the link. Someone had asked something about Salt Strong, so I was being there and be helpful. And good news is a lot of people had already answered the question that was on there, and it was mostly all positive. And I went on this rabbit hole because one of the other things that caught my attention was some, hot topics, if you will, or conversations that were getting some attention. And the conversation was about in God we trust, and that it was offensive. That was kind of the question, is like, hey, is anyone else offended by in God we trust, that we have to put up with seeing this all the time? And I went down this rabbit hole of reading all the comments. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of comments. And here's the sad thing. The sad thing is that the vast majority of the comments, like by far, I didn't read every single one. I didn't have that much time on my hands. But the vast majority of these comments were all in support that in God we trust is offensive. Okay. So let that sit in. If you don't know, we actually have a motto. The United States of America has a motto. This is like a published thing. It went into law. This is a law in 1956. Obviously, it's been on coins and it's been on, license plates and even police cars and stuff for a lot longer. Heck, I believe it was in the 1860s is when it first showed up on coins, because once again, it was the motto, right? This was a calling, right? This is our call to arms. This is what we believed in as a country. In God we trust. Now, it's interesting. It never said which God, right? I mean, and I'm pretty sure that was on purpose for the Constitution. There's even some people that were involved in the founding of our country that weren't necessarily Christian, but still believed in a God. And so this is not talking about just the Christian God, let's just say, or Islamic God or anything like that. It's just saying in God we trust. For most of Americans, especially, going way back in time, this has been, God isn't a Christian God, but regardless, it has been a law and it has been our motto in America since 1956. In God we trust. Yet here today, when crime is at all-time high, when depression and anxiety are at all-time highs, when suicides are at all-time highs, when people having sex changes and just being confused on their gender and their identity is at all-time highs. I mean, all of this confusion here, I don't know, is it possibly just coincidence that we are trying to kick out God of our lives? I will just say that the past usually leaves clues. The Bible, which is obviously written in the past, most of it at least, leaves clues, right? I mean, if you've read the Bible, spent any time, or even just heard stories, we know what happens over and over and over again. There is countless stories of when a civilization or a group or even a particular leader kicks God out of their lives and out of their culture, things start falling apart. Where there is no vision, the people perish. In God we trust. That is part of a vision. It's a mantra. It's a mission. It's something that we all align with. And for our country, for obviously many years, there's no way they could have even passed the law. That means both sides, Republicans and Democrats, if you can believe it, had to agree on something, and everyone agreed, yes, in God we trust. This is good for our country. This is what we believe in as a country. And now, here we are, fast forward to, the end of 2023, and it seems that we believe in nothing. And I've seen this over and over again with, companies. There's been some competitors in our saltwater fishing space that have come and gone over the last 8 years since we've been in business. And for the most part, the ones that failed, it wasn't a bad business model per se. It was they didn't stand for anything. If you don't stand for something, then you stand for nothing, right? We, on the other hand, have a very vivid and written down mission and vision statement. And it would be like if I just let all of our employees, or even just anyone who saw Salt Strong, for that matter, online say, hey, I disagree with that. You need to change that. And every week we were changing something to not offend anyone. And next thing you know, you wake up one day and we're like, oh, well, we've erased our entire mission statement. We've erased our entire vision statement. We don't have anything because we've erased it all because we were afraid to offend someone. And that's where we're going. I mean, we're literally erasing everything that's been important to America, everything that's helped us go from being a nobody. I mean, if you look at the history of America, it is unprecedented. Nothing like this has ever happened, ever. I mean, think about it. We came from nothing, from not even a country, not even an establishment, in a really short amount of time in the history of the world, and became the powerhouse in the shortest time ever. It would be like having a new franchise in the NFL and winning the Super Bowl in the first year, second year, third year, fourth year. It's unheard of. It's literally unheard of. And if you don't think there was some of God's favor there, that we were one of the only countries in terms of as we got established that actually put God first, that talked about God, that prayed, that it's never really said it was a Christian country, but then again, if depending on where you're reading, it kind of was, and that didn't mean that you had to be Christian to be a part of it. Of course not. But for the most part, it was Christian values. Even how schools were started, it wasn't taught it wasn't there just to teach mathematics. No, if you look back to the history, and this is stuff you can find on Wikipedia, I've talked about it before. I mean, the history of schools in America were teaching essentially Christian values and teaching them about God and being a good person. And they talked about God all the time in schools, even Harvard. I mean, essentially started as a kind of a Christian-based school. You saw what happened there here recently. They have now, for the first time ever, have decided they do not want any priest because it might offend some of their people. So now they have an atheist because they still want to have some sort of, I don't even know what to call it, but someone who is in charge of religion, and it is an atheist. I can't make this stuff up because, once again, we're afraid we might offend someone. And regardless of what you believe on God and Jesus and Satan, it's tough not to agree there might be some sort of evil out there. And if we all agree there's some sort of evil out there, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter to me. But if we all agree there's some sort of evil out there, wouldn't you agree if you were evil, right? If you were this evil force trying to take over a pretty solid country like America, and has been solid for so many years now and been at the top, if you wanted to take them down, one, I would create confusion. One, I would have them question their identity. And two, I would have them arguing amongst themselves about everything because you might offend someone. Let's take this down. Let's literally destroy the fabric of everything that got us here. Let's destroy the mission statement. Let's destroy the vision. Let's destroy the motto. Anything and everything that is good, let's destroy it. And oh, by the way, let's start with the kids and the youth and the millennials. Let's start with the education system and start indoctrinating them to this sort of belief. And this is not some sort of conspiracy theory or anything crazy. It's what's been happening in our country now for quite some time. And I think as a parent or even as a grandparent, I would be looking very closely at where your kids are even going to school and what they're being taught. I mean, it is so sad how lost so many of these kids are because they're just getting horrible, horrible information. And the fact that we're telling kids, even in really big schools and what used to be really nice universities, that have now just kind of turned political and have now turned to telling these kids, "Oh, hey, we got to tear this down. We can't talk about anything good or anything with God because we might offend someone." And I'm telling you, it's not going to be a pretty picture if we don't stand up for something. Once again, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. There is going to be a time here, and it was one of the most downloaded podcasts I've had here with Unchurched was talking about this kind of a spiritual warfare, and there will be a time, I believe, in the near future that we're going to have to take a stand. The good people are going to have to take a stand and say enough is enough. This has gone on too far, because if we don't, we will end up standing for nothing, and the whole thing will fall apart, and it'll just be one big evil empire where no one agrees on anything. I mean, if you think it's bad now, we haven't even gotten anywhere close to where it could go if we just completely rip everything apart. We're heading that way, but we're not even close to where it could be. If you think politicians and just people in general can't agree on stuff, like even go to that Reddit post. I mean, it is crazy how no one can agree on anything. They mostly agreed that "In God We Trust" was offensive somehow to I don't even know who. I mean, the one person even says, "Hey, I'm a Christian, but yeah, I can see this is offensive." Like to who? If you're a Christian, how are you saying that "In God We Trust" is offensive? It doesn't make any sense, especially knowing it is our motto, and that doesn't mean that "Oh, you should leave." I don't think we need to get that aggressive. Maybe we do. I don't know. Maybe at some point we do. But here's what it does mean is like, cool, you don't agree with it, then tough luck. Still have fun living here. And if it bothers you that much, then yes, you might want to leave, but we're not changing it just because you might be offended, right? And it's the same with like my company. If someone is offended that we put Jesus on our mission statement on our website, then this might not be the place for you. I'm not saying that you have to do this, but this is who we are as a company. This is our fabric, right? And same with our members. We had some members who left. That's completely fine. I'm not saying that you have to believe this. I'm saying that's who we are. And as Americans, and is literally how this whole thing was built and how it was just flooded with God's favor from day one. And like I said, in unprecedented levels, to go from nothing to be the powerhouse, that's unheard of. I mean, it's literally unheard of. There was 100% some magic there. There was 100% some God's favor there. And I can only imagine there is some head shaking up above right now from God saying, "What have you guys done to everything I gave you? You put me first for, a couple hundred years. You saw what I did. I mean, God opened up doors for America. It knocked down our foes. I mean, it has just been one amazing ride. And I can only imagine he is up there shaking his head saying, "Gosh, guys, you better wake up soon. This is not going to be a pretty picture." Once again, the past leaves clues. The Bible leaves a lot of clues. And I am just, I'm so worried that we're headed that way. And so I just want to challenge you to, one, pay attention to it. Two, pay attention to your kids. I think that's really where Satan and evil and the devil starts. And there's been, so much documented about that if, Satan, for instance, wanted to take down any civilization, you start with the kids, right? I mean, start with that generation and start indoctrinating them. At some point, they will be the leaders. It's a longer form play, but that is where you start, and that's how things crumble pretty quickly. And lo and behold, here we are already kicked God out of our schools, right? Because that's offensive. Not allowed to even mention anything about Christianity, but of course you can talk about any other religion that you want, because we don't want to offend anybody. But at some point, there are going to have to be some offended people, sadly. And I'm not saying that in an aggressive tone or even being rude with it. But at some point, just like we had to do at Salt Strong, you know what? That it's a risk we're willing to take. It's what we believe in. It is the foundation of our company. And if that does offend someone, that's fine. That's not my problem. That's theirs. And then we're not trying to shove it down anyone's throat. Just like "In God We Trust," it's not like we're making everyone get it tattooed. That could be a little bit offensive, right? if we literally declare that every American person had a tattoo in God we trust, I get that. That could be offensive. That's not the right way to do it. But this is just something that's been around forever. It's been on coins since 1864, and now there's talks about people wanting to ban it from everything from police cars to coins, etc., to bills. Oh my goodness! So pray for our country, and once again, take a stand. If you see something that just doesn't make sense, stand up for it. Love you guys, and I'm sure there will be much more on this topic.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.